Hey, this is Shilpa here. Hello and welcome to this series on miasms, where I'm answering questions by my Argent mentoring students and mentees on treatment of multi-miasmatic and miasmatic diseases. So this particular video, I have a very crucial and very important question. This is by Helena, and she says, in multi-miasmatic cases, how do you determine which miasm is currently dominant and which is latent? What signs and symptoms are you looking at? How do you connect them into different layers? This is a key question, a crucial question, and it is something that will give me an opportunity to differentiate single miasmatic cases and multi-miasmatic, multi-layered cases. So let me take you back to just single miasmatic cases. Now, this is a very simplistic example, and I've given this before, but what happens in a single miasmatic case is you have one fundamental miasmatic cause that you were born with or that you acquire in your life through some environmental factor, right? Now, that chronic miasm will remain latent in its secondary expressions at the start, and then it will be excited at some form by some exciting factor, and then it starts to express at stage 3, 2, 1, and it goes and involves different systems, different organs, causing different pathologies based on the patient's genetic predisposition. So you start at stage 4, which is where the fundamental cause starts, and then when the exciting factor triggers, that starts stage 3. Then it goes to stage 2 when you start having local symptoms in different organs and systems, and it goes to stage 1 where it starts having pathological structural issues and organ damage. This is where you have the whole process of from the miasmatic trigger to the pathology, from stage 4 to stage 1. This is a sort of a simplistic picture of a miasmatic case. So a single miasm, one specific fundamental chronic miasm, can have multiple exciting factors and can go on and create issues in multiple systems, multiple organs. All of them are traced to that one single miasmatic cause. Right? This is what I call single miasmatic case. Now, multi-miasmatic cases, and this is what you see in your day-to-day life. Now, imagine this is multiplied dozens of times. Okay? So, a patient has multiple such fundamental chronic miasmatic causes, both inherited and acquired. And then they are all latent at the start, okay, when they are at stage 4. Then at some point, they are activated by some exciting factors. Each one is activated with its own unique exciting factor. And then as the patient goes through different phases of life, these activating factors will then create issues in multiple systems, multiple organs, and multiple pathologies, multiple disease diagnoses. So each of them will form its own tree structure. That is what is a multi-miasmatic case. Now, I've been thinking about how do I represent these in a diagram, right? And this is the best diagram that I could come up with. I know it's rough. I could develop it through time, but hope you get the point and my intention of what it is actually that we are dealing with as homeopathic, practitioners day in and out, right? So let me just explain. Say this is the progress of the patient from birth to death, okay? And then we have, the born, say for example, with some form of inherited miasms, okay? Multiple miasms. Say blue and purple are the miasms that they're born with. They're inherited, which means that the infective agents were in the parent, okay? And then each of them will be, genetically in the child, and then they will be activated independently later on, right? Say the purple miasm, it was activated during childhood here, right? So it was activated due to some exciting factor during childhood. Now, until then it was latent, but then say the child was vaccinated and it was sensitive, or there was some form of physical or emotional abuse as a child, and now this purple inherited miasm, which was latent all through, it will now express at stage 3, will go on to express at stage 2 and 1, and will affect its own individual organs, systems and pathologies and create its own purple tree. You with me? Okay. Now say this blue miasm was latent. It was also inherited, and now it was latent for a while, but it was activated now during puberty. So say there was some exciting factor, say a relationship breakdown or some disappointment, and then the blue will now get activated and express at stage 3, and it will have its own issues and then go on to express at stage 2 and 1 and the pathologies and the systems, and will form its own blue tree. And then you have some acquired miasms, okay? So say this orange is an acquired miasm which started during prenatal time. So probably the mom had some form of stress in the uterus. Now the child will be born with it, and it will eventually express at stage 3, 2 and 1, and the forming, and it will form its own orange tree structure with its own systems, organs and conditions. And then later on in life, say this patient was exposed to some heavy metal poisoning due to their occupation, due to some dental treatment, some other intervention, whatever. Now, this is another acquired miasm. It was not born, the patient was not born with it, but it was acquired, and this is the green miasm acquired due to some heavy metal poisoning, and it will cause and become its own green tree at some point. So you with me? And then say this patient decides to come to you at this point, this black line. And now imagine this person wants to treat this one obscure branch of the blue tree. Okay? Now this is just one branch of this multi-miasmatic, multi-layered, multi-systemic, multiple trees in this patient, and you can see everything else in patches, but not really. It's patchy, it's vague, it's obscure, it's overwhelming. No wonder we are completely clueless, right? Where, what, how to begin. So to simplify, this is what I would teach you. This is what I teach my Argentum students. In multi-miasmatic cases, let your patient tell you where to start. Start with the chief complaint. That's the chief complaint, the blue one, the obscure tertiary branch, okay? And then what you do is you now focus and trace the blue tree to wherever you can go backwards. Whether you can go at stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3, or ideally you want to go right at the start, wherever you can, and make your best attempt to eliminate the indications and the miasm that holds this blue tree. I've explained how you treat this in my past videos on single miasm, so make sure you check that. But here is the idea. You treat what the patient comes with. Now, as the patient unfolds, the other layers will show up more prominently with time, and you work on them as they come up. You can still see those, these submerged layers aren't gone. You can see a lot of mixed data, and all these submerged layers will be showing them, like, I talk about a Play-Doh with all these colors, they're showing up at times, but you just choose to focus and work on that one layer and that one color, and then make the best you can, right? So hence, I always encourage you to make a chart and track down the evolution of the present complaint and its layers for your patient with time. This way you ensure you do not lose thread and intention of what needs to be cured at all times. So this is what you should sketch in your patient too. Now ideally, we want to reverse them in the same order, but this does not happen practically. I mean, your patient shows up with what needs to be treated next. So don't decide. Let him or her tell you what they need. Trust that they know best. Now, I've explained this process really well in my book, How to Remove Miasmatic Blocks in Multi-Miasmatic Cases through a case example. So check that out. Now, the idea in multi-miasmatic cases is based on focusing on the presenting chief complaint. I would look for the miasm that's holding the chief complaint and making inroads in the chief complaint. The other miasms and their associated complaints will be dealt with later. Remember, as you're working on the chief complaint and its miasm, you are building susceptibility. You are unfolding suppressed submerged layers. New layers and states will hopefully come up. And strategically, you can work your way through that using the same process as the chief complaint above. So keep it simple, take one tree at a time, remove one weed at a time, and slowly through time, you'll see that the weeds are, the weeds are being uprooted. The patient is feeling much more healthier. There is less burden, less baggage. They're more freer, and then they start vibrating at a much different level. And hopefully you give them that freedom to live the life to the fullest. That's the whole intention here. So I hope this is making sense, and I hope all my diagrams make sense, but I love to hear from you. Love to know what you think about these and your thoughts as well. And together we'll give the best to our patients. Thank you so much.